become shadows in the light of you. When I found the joy of preaching your heart, when my will becomes enthroned in your love, when all things that surround become shadows in the light of you, and I worship you. I worship you. The reason I live is to worship you. And I worship you. And I worship you. The reason I live is to worship you. We worship you, Jesus. When I look into your holiness, when I gaze into your loveliness, when all things that surround become shadows in the light of you. 'Cause when I found the joy of preaching your heart, when my will becomes enthroned in your love, when all things that surround become shadows in the light of you. Come on, let us worship the Lord. 'Cause I worship you. And I worship you. The reason I live is to worship you. And I worship you. And I worship you. The reason I live is to worship you. And I worship you. And I worship you. The reason I live is to worship you, is to worship you. And I worship you. And I worship you, Jesus. The reason I live is to worship you. The reason I live is to worship you. The reason Panginoon, tunay nga po, Diyos, ang dahilan ng lahat, Panginoon, kung bakit kami narito, Panginoon, ay para bigyan ka namin ng papuri at mataas na pagsamba, Panginoon, sa aming mga buhay, Lord God. You're worthy of all our praises. You're worthy of all our worship, Panginoon. At sa mga oras na ito, Lord God, kayo lamang po ang aming itataas. Kayo lamang po ang aming siyang dadakilain. Kayo lamang po ang siyang aming paparangalan, Panginoon, Lord God. Maraming salamat po sa iyo po ang papuri at pagsamba sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen.